My name is Chamun Dabeng, and you're welcome to Trust TV's Armed Forces Remembrance Day special on Business Daily. Today we remember our heroes. So to each and every single one of our brave men and women of the past and present who have fought for this country and who risk their lives daily, to the ones who paid the ultimate price in order to protect this country, the sanctity and its people. On behalf of Trust TV, I say thank you for your immeasurable sacrifices. There are no words that can truly express our gratitude, so thank you once more. To our viewers today, we are going to start out with a very brief history lesson on this very important day. The Nigerian Civil War, or the Nigerian Biafran War, is till date the most infamous civil war ever listed since the inception of Nigeria as an independent state. The war lasted from the 6th of July 1967 to the 15th of January 1970. That's exactly 2 years, 6 months, 1 week, and 2 days. The war led to the destruction of property, government money poured into the war, citizens left disabled, and millions of deaths. It has been 51 years since the end of the war. Though very much behind us, we still do feel the sting of the war. Today on the show, we're going to be looking at a number of factors: the economic cost of the war, policies and inconsistent implementation of these policies, pensions being owed to ex-servicemen, disruptions caused by military interference, destruction of property and loss of lives during the war, the cost of tribalism and the cost of insurgency today. And finally, what do we do now that history is beginning to repeat itself? Joining me in the studio today, I have economist and financial analyst Steve Nwachukwu, and we will be joined by public affairs analyst and journalist Jide Ojo. Well, let me start off with what this day actually means to you. So I'm asking you this question not only as a Nigerian, but, you know, coming from your own profession as an economist, as a financial analyst. When you look back on this day, what comes to mind?
Well, thank you once again for having me, and let me first congratulate the Armed Forces for this special day. It's a special day for them, a day to remember the fallen heroes and those veterans that are still there struggling to survive life. Some are with bullet wounds, some are with injuries, some are legs are amputated, hands are amputated, and a lot has happened to them and their families. Let me once again celebrate with them as they mark this special day. Yeah. Then coming back to the realities of the day or the armed forces, I think one thing we should not take away from the whole event is that first, the primary function or the essence of government is to provide security of life and properties.
Of course.
And it happens that in doing such, the armed forces are fully involved. They are the only institutions of government that could provide that safety or security that requires, or protecting your business or your property, so that every other thing will fall in place. Today is a special day for them, and I celebrate that with them. And government knows the importance of the armed forces, and that's why in our constitution, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria also has a second title, which is the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, meaning that he controls the armed forces. Armed forces comprises of the Air Force, the Army, the Navy, all the intelligence agencies, including the Nigerian Police, the NIA, name it. This is the size of our armed forces, and other paramilitaries that has to do with civil defense, every other security outfits, even the customs. They are part of the paramilitaries that actually secures the integrity and the border lines of our country. So we celebrate them and we appreciate them for what they have done for this country. Now it left for the leadership of our nation to see the importance of this very organization, or importance of these individuals, what they have committed and contributed to the peace and unity of the nation, to actually provide that which is required, which to take care of their welfare. Because most often we find that when you retire, to get your pension is an issue. And when you also retire or have some injuries, to get some other benefits that requires for you to continue to live a normal life as a citizen becomes an issue. So on that ground, I call on the government to do more on its welfare packages for our veterans. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much for that. All right, so we have Mr. Jide Ojo, who just joined us in the studio, and I'm going to be throwing the same question to him. Now, Mr. Jide, when you take a look at this day, what actually comes to mind as a Nigerian, as a journalist, as a public affairs analyst? You know, what do you think of?
Thank you very much, Amma, and good evening, viewers. Apologies for being a little behind schedule. It's a day we are commemorating the gallantry of Nigerian armed forces, and it is just fit and proper. You know, United Nations has days for almost everything. International Toilet Day, International Men's Day, International Women's Day, International Anti-Corruption Day. But, you know, we just set aside January 15 to commemorate, not to celebrate, to commemorate the gallantry of Nigerian fallen heroes. And what informs the choice of January 15? Because this day 52 years ago,
51
rather, was when we had the first military coup in Nigeria. January 15 is Aguiyi Ironsi push that led to the termination of the First Republic. The jury is still out there whether what the military did in 1966 was noble and something commendable. Some of us felt we would have made more giant stride in our political journey than we have made if the military did not intervene at that point. And cumulatively, in our 62 years of independence, military took 29 of those years. And those years is believed to have set us back some decades in terms of our democratic consolidation and emancipation. But coming back to the role of military, there are three things that is significant this day. One, the fallen heroes, those who have lost their lives in the course of protecting the territorial integrity of Nigeria, those who have lost their lives trying to defend this country. Two, is those who have retired or have been disengaged.
Yeah.
So those are the legionnaires. You see them, some of them have been hired to take care of public utilities. You see them at national secretariats trying to provide some little security support. Then the ones in service, that is the top category, because Nigerian Armed Forces is growing bigger and, let me say, better. So it is the significance of this day is to look back and have sober reflection about where are we in terms of security and defense of Nigeria. Those who have played the role they played, we need to appreciate them for it. Yes. We are not where we ought to be security-wise, but we are not also where we used to be. For once, Nigerian military has been able to forestall coup after the last one that took place in 1998, the one that brought in Abdulsalami and Abubakar regime. So we have had an unfettered 22 years or going to 23 years of civil rule. It is because the new leadership of Nigerian forces have been able to curtail any expansionist agenda of wanting to lord it over and intervene or take over power forcefully, that we are today celebrating democracy. But this day is for the military to remember their exploit, to remember all they have done to keep this country united, because people will tell you the civil war that rose out of the military coup of January 15, 1966 was a war of unity. The Biafrans wanted out of Nigeria, arising from chain events that set out from the Ironsi coup of January 15, the Chukwuma Nzeogo's coup of January 15, 1966, then the Hiroshima coup of July 29, 1966, then the takeover by Yakubu Gowon, and all of that, which led ultimately to the Civil War of 1967. And the significance of January 15 is also that it was on January 15, 1970, that the Civil War ended, when General Effiong surrendered on behalf of Biafra to the Nigerian troops. So that January 15, just like June 12, has come to be a day to remember. You recall that 2 years ago, President Buhari has now recognized June 12 as our Democracy Day. Yeah. The same way we are now recognizing January 15th as our Armed Forces Remembrance Day.
All right. Thank you very much. Now that you've brought up one very important, actually you've brought up a number of important factors, but the one that I want to move on to is the issue of pension payment to our legionnaires, the men and women who fought for this country, and, yet we're still waiting to see them being properly treated. Well, we went out to the streets to talk to our fellow Nigerians to see what they thought about this issue. So let's take a look at that video.
I think it's very okay. It's good to celebrate them today. Yes, and again, well, I don't know what to say about this, but it's good to celebrate them today. I don't know what the plan of government is for them. So whatever it is, I think we need to support them.
It's a good thing to celebrate the loss of our heroes. There's nothing bad in it, but I think there's more to it. We need to create an opportunity to remember them and take care of their family. It will be a very good thing for the government to do that.
I believe this thing the government are doing concerning those servicemen that have served this country with the whole of their hearts, it's really, really, really painful. You cannot serve a country from your heart and you expected being treated like this. Because I will serve a country and the end of the day, it will not be like, say, I'm disabled, I cannot get what I want when I needed the country to help me out. So things like this are very, very painful, you understand? Because my heart cries when I see an old serviceman with a stick walking around going for a place to want to get for his money. So these things like this ought not to be occurring again. There's supposed to be a kind of maybe an account open for them. They don't even need for them to even be begging. They don't even need for them to even be short. Just an account is just open for them, and you just see monthly, just as you get your monthly salaries. Those are the things that are supposed to be given to them, than allowing those pensions going through this kind of excruciating time.
I think it is very important that our government should not joke with our military pensions. I think they have to, I don't know how they are going to do it, but seriously, it is what they have done. Their pension is not something that our government should joke with. I think it's something that our government should look into it and make sure that they are paid for their service to their fatherland.
All right, as you can see from the video, many Nigerians out there are actually lamenting the fact that our legionnaires have actually not been paid their pension funds, and that's really sad to see, because many of them were left disabled and unable to take care of themselves, and there are other issues surrounding that. All right, so one of the respondents from our video actually talked about bad leadership. Do you agree that this is what it boils down to? Let me start off with you, Mr. Steve.
Before I respond to that, let me just make a little remark on what my friend and brother and colleague talked about when you took us through the history class of how we come about this day. Beyond that, today is remarkable for the Nigerian environment in the sense that we had a civil war. We also looked at it from the point, if you go through the military ranks, they will tell you that it's more of the involvement of the Nigerian army in the First and Second World War. And coming back to what he said in the regards to those of us, those of the army, men and women who are still alive, who are still down there working for the Nigerian army, come back to the question you talked about, which has to do with how have government actually intervened in their issues? How have government focused on, providing succor to them or giving them the required leadership they require. Bad leadership, you could call it anything, but I say it from the point of determination to really get them involved or engaged after retiring.
All right. Mr. Jide.
Well, like rightly pointed out, it's a sad commentary that those who served this nation meritoriously, who became disabled, some paying the supreme price, some, you know, became mentally unbalanced as a result of war experience. They are not being well taken care of. It's sad. And you know, there were this group that protested in Kaduna the other day. And they said something, that there is an allowance that was supposed to be paid to them that will make them to refrain from committing crime with the knowledge, military knowledge that they have.
Yes, exactly.
There is a name they called it. And they are not being paid. And these are people who are trained and could easily move to the other side and become bandits and terrorists or providing services for those groups. So the state has not done enough to take care of our legionnaires. Apart from the legionnaires, even those who have died, how early have their entitlements been paid? Their insurance, because I know every member of the armed forces have life insurance. Their pension, their gratuity. Is it not surprising that the moment the breadwinner dies, who is a member of the armed forces, maybe in 3 months or 6 months, they are ejected from the barracks or official quarters? This is a breadwinner that is catering for the family that is gone. So the liability becomes that of the extended family to now help accommodate the family that these people left behind. This has been a very sad commentary on the way we treat members of Nigerian Armed Forces. And those who are even there today, Chamon, those who are helping to ward off insurgents and bandits, they are still complaining. You possibly have seen trending videos of soldiers in Borno, in Adamawa, in Yobe, saying that their allowances have not been paid to them. Some saying that they are supposed to be there for 6 months, they have been there 3 years, 4 years, they've not been moved. So all of these complaints are supposed to be looked into, because the least this country holds these people is appreciation and welfare. Because it's not easy. I just imagine if my brother and I were to be asked to join vigilante now to keep our family safe, whether we will do it professionally. But these are people who are sleepless nights, some of them sleeping in forest, no lights, with all manner of discomfort, and for weeks, for months. The Civil War was for 30 months. First World War was for 4 years. Second World War, another 4 or 5 years. 1939 to 1945. The first one was from 1914 to 1918. You get it. Those years that they were there protecting global, offering global security or national security as it were. So the least we, and I wouldn't know who to blame for this, because we have a president who is a member of that community, a retired general. Is he aware? Is he aware? We have National Security Advisor who belongs to that community. We have Minister of Defense who belongs to that community. Are you there? So we have people who are not bloody civilians as they want to call you and I. People who are retired generals themselves.
All right, sir. All right, so the allowance that Mr. Jide was trying to actually remember is the Security Department allowance, and it's supposed to go out to 97,000 retired soldiers. So far, only those who were discharged after 2017 have actually received payment. So there's still a huge number of soldiers out there, retired legionnaires, that are waiting to actually receive this allowance that is due to them. All right, so we're going to go on a short break, and when we get back, we're going to continue the discussion, so don't go anywhere. You're welcome back to Business Daily, and today we are commemorating the lives and achievements of our heroes. Yes, today is Armed Forces Remembrance Day, and today we're celebrating all of our heroes out there. Not every single hero wears the cape. Some of them are standing out there under the rain, under the sun, fighting to protect us every single day. And some have even paid the ultimate price by laying down their lives for this country. And they are the reason why we're safe today, or relatively safe, should I say. All right, so I'm still joined here in the studio by public affairs analyst and journalist, Mr. Jide Ojo, and economist and financial analyst, Mr. Stephen Wachuku. So let's take a look at the economic factors of the Civil War. Now, this war ended 51 years ago. Would you say that, the factors that led to the war, or even after the war, are, factors that are still persisting till date? Let me start off with you, Mr. Jide.
Well, rightly so. The economic cost of Nigeria's Civil War in today's currency would be in billions. But at that time, it was in millions. But we had, luckily for General Yakubu Gowon, he had a very prudent manager in Chief Obafemi Awolowo as the Minister of Finance then. So Awolowo was also able to manage the war without Nigeria having to go and borrow. Nigeria didn't have to borrow to prosecute the war. Unlike now that we are borrowing to the hilt to fight insecurity, to fight insurgency and all of that. But that not borrowing also had implications. There is a social cost to the Civil War. There is also an economic cost, and there is a social cost. The social cost to the war is the seed of discord and disunity that is sowed. Don't forget, what precipitated the war was reprisal attack on the Igbos after the January 15, 1966, which some people classify as Igbo War. Then, when, as at that January 15, so many northern and southwest leaders were removed, political office holder. Then, when there was a reprisal attack in July, which led to the removal of General Aguiyi Ironsi, it was the ripple effect of that led Ikemba Enewi, Chief Odumegwu Ojukwu, to say, with the killings that are taking place in the north against the Igbos and the elimination of many Igbo senior military officers, then they don't want to be in Nigeria again, which was what set in motion the agitation for Biafra. Mm-hmm. And that agitation has not died till today, because it's still that same agitation that was inherited by Mazi or Asurike under Maso, Movement for the Actualization of Sovereign State of Biafra. It was the same that was inherited by Mazi and Nnamdi Kanu that made him to champion the indigenous people of Biafra agitation, which is still, on today. So that social cost is still there. Today, the Igbos are crying of marginalization. Mm-hmm. They are saying that Nigeria is supposed to stand on a tripod, but today it's like on a two-legged country, because they look at it politically beyond the constitutional appointment of one minister from every state. Igbos have nothing to show in terms of political leadership. The best they have had after the ceremonial presidency of Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe between 1960 to 66, January 15, was, that was the ceremonial presidency. And thereafter, during the Second Republic, we had 4 years of Dr. Alex Ekweme as vice president to Alhaji Shehu Shagari, who was then the executive president. So from that time, Igbos have not smelled the presidency of Nigeria. In terms of appointment, a lot of criticism have come the way of this present administration about its hatred on what they call provincialism, that the Igbos have not been carried along, particularly in the security apparatus of Nigeria. That if you look at the hierarchy of the military in Nigeria today, the best the Igbos have is spokesperson. Igbo is the spokesperson of Nigerian police, spokesperson of DSS, spokesperson of the Nigerian army. So is that what they are good at? Can they also lead one? And when this president removed the service chiefs in January of 2021, after so much public outcry, it was expected that at least from Army to Navy to Air Force, down to Chief of Defense Staff, at least 1 out of 4 would be an Igbo person, an Hausa person, a Yoruba person, and maybe a South person. But what did we see? We now saw 2 appointments from the Northwest, one from Kaduna, one from Kano. After the death of General Atairu, in the Ifete plane crash, the Chief of Army Staff is now appointed from Sokoto, which is still Northwest. So people are saying, where is the equity, justice, and fairness? And that is the social cost of the Civil War. All right.
Coming to you, Mr. Steve, what was the economic cost of the Civil War?
Thank you so much. In as much as I'm much interested on the economic cost or economic implication of prosecuting or funding a war, I also like the rhetorics or the history class that Mr. Jide have taken us through. Though it could be his own perspective, other people may also have other perspective to what led to the Civil War, how the Civil War came about, and the injuries, like he mentioned, the social cost of this very war to us Nigerians, and how much have we been able to heal from this very outcome of war. I think the most of those things are still that took us to the war is still prevalent as we are speaking now. Issue of marginalization is still there. Like he mentioned, the issue of not being inclusive enough. In fact, 2023 is by the corner, and there is a call by some individuals by sections of this country asking these very presidencies to be micro-zoned to the southeast and all that. So these are the pros or the aspect of the war that we need to harvest and see how much you can use it to actually heal. Now, coming back to economic implications of the war, he talked about the social. Even he mentioned that he said that government couldn't able to borrow, but some aspect of the damage being done in the southeast is still a cost effect of the war, not just from the side of the Nigerian army prosecuting the war, from the army side of also the Biafra, the so acclaimed Biafra land or Biafra territory is still a Nigerian territory. It's still under Nigeria. Those destructions, those bombing and destruction that happened in those areas are still Nigerian properties that was destroyed. So it's a cost effect also to the Nigerian community and the people living around those areas. So the cost is not just from the part of Nigerian army not being able to borrow, or we are able to have enough resources to prosecute the war during the Civil War. Now, coming back to reality of the current insecurities that we are having, how much have we invested in prosecuting this war, of prosecuting insecurity or banditry, as you may have it? For about 7-8 years, statistics shows that about 8 trillion naira has been expanded to prosecuting civil war, which is banditry or Boko Haram in the northeast, and banditry in the northwest, and the Niger Delta militant in the south, and the Oduduwa and the IPOB in the southeast, and all around us, all these cases of insecurities rising. So Nigerian government have actually expanded close to 8 trillion naira in the last 8 years to prosecute. In fact, if you add this year, 2022, 2.4 trillion naira that was provided in the budget, is about 10.4 trillion naira that have been expanded to prosecute this war, or prosecute or take care of this security in the Nigeria. So a lot has been committed by the Nigerian government to this effect. But the question is, what is the result we are having? Are we safer? Just like you earlier asked this question, are we safer now as a nation? Are we safer as a man living in the southeast? Are we safer as a man living in the north central or northwest? Why are we still having a persistent insecurity in most of these areas? And that's the question of where have this fund been expanded? Even when you are attacking the issues from the asymmetric or non-asymmetric warfare, you also consider the fact that the people investing this fund should also be investigated. Those who buy the hardware, those who are going through the welfare aspect of bringing winning souls or winning these individuals back through what you call the repentant rehabilitation of these individuals that have been involved.
Equipping the army.
Also equipping the army. Yes, we've been seeing a couple of armories being bought by the Nigerian government to fight this war, prosecute this war. But we have not seen the real evidence of people living in their home. Nigerians are becoming fugitive in their own country. Nigerians are living in their ancestral home. They've run away. In fact, they are every day on the run. If you go to the north central or northwest, people are on the run. So the question has remained, the expansion of this, expanding these volumes of naira to prosecute this war, and Nigerians are not still feeling safer. Why are we still having much expanded insecurity in this country when such volumes of money have? There is a call, maybe the amount of money. I listened to the Senate Committee Chairman, Senator Alin Dume, talking about that it's not that the army or the armed forces still require more money and more to prosecute the war. My question is, what you have been given. In fact, if you narrow it down to the last 3 years, in 2020, 2021, and 2022, is about 6.9 trillion expanded in this very sector. How safer are we is the question.
It's a very good question. How safer have we been so far, you know? All right, so now you guys brought up, or the both of you brought up a certain aspect where you talked about marginalization. And this actually reminded me of the issue of, you know, the different tribes and that exist within the country. Now, taking a look at this, now, after the Biafran War, there was an issue of, you know, should I say ethnic, sort of an ethnic clash, not really a clash, but a lot of people started to disengage from other people of different tribes. And of course, this also led to the creation of different states, which we had more tribes coming up and more people speaking different languages and more people coming up with their own beliefs and more people coming up with their own cultures. Now, this basically brought about the issue of tribalism within the country. And it's something that we still live in or still live with today. It is a huge issue. Now, can this be looked as something that can actually affect the economic growth of this country moving forward? Let me start off with you.
Of course it takes. Just like Mr. Jide took us through the history line, and which is the social cause of the war, which have actually, you know, kind of put us apart. We're supposed to be a nation, a one nation, though we are from different ethnic divide, though we are so diverse in culture, diverse in language, diverse in many areas, but things that should be uniting us is what we are not looking at. He made mention of the marginalization. What we are looking at, how have all these areas that have felt marginalized been felt in the community of the community of whole or community of the nation as a Nigerian entity. How have we felt? How have these minorities felt about it? Now, yes, some people may think, but people may believe also, or there are schools of thought or perceptions that there are still people who still think they're still in war. There are people who still believe they are still at war with the Igbos. So they are deliberately doing one or two things to make sure they frustrate an Igbo man. So this is the area. No, when you talk about these very descendant voices that are coming up, that are looking like real, when you made mention of why is a clamor for an Igbo man to be within the corridor of power? Why is so? It seems like there is, I said it's a perception. I said it's not like it's a reality. It may look like reality because you're putting life to it when questions of this nature come out. Why don't you do this? Why not do that? You know, you talked about the appointment, and when you made mention of the ministers, it's a statutory ministry. It's a statutory appointment that the Constitution provides that you must appoint a single minister from a single, from each state of the federation, the 36 states. So it's more like it's doing a favor to any of the South, to those who believe that somebody is prosecuting an agenda which we are out of war. Like they used the word, no vanquish, no what? No victor, no vanquish. And people still think that there is a war they are prosecuting. So in that sense, I think there is a lot to be done. There should be a kind of roundtable to look at this issue. Are we still in war? Are we out of war? Are we uniting ourselves? Are we putting up programs that dedicated program that we have a concentrated effort towards to unite this nation, to unite this tribe, to unite those who think they were marginalized, or those who think that they wanted to succeed or they wanted to separate from the entity. So there should be a dedicated program to bring these very individuals or bring these tribes or ethnic groups to the whole. All
right, so the issue of ethnic division at this point is really not just between, you know, other different tribes and versus the Igbos. It has cut across into different areas. We see it even when, you know, or should I say allegedly, more like when the hiring processes go when it comes to different departments or different jobs, where, you know, you have situations where, you know, because the person that is hiring and the person who is trying to be hired are of the same tribe or speak the same tongue, they have an edge over everyone else and disregarding completely the qualifications of the other person. These are issues that are very much existent. When you talk to a lot of Nigerians out there, they will talk about, you know, their own experiences when it comes to, you know, being marginalized because of their tribe, or when it comes to being discriminated because of their own tribe. almost every single person out there has their own experience.
Exactly.
It's an issue, and it's an issue that continues to affect us till this day. Now, still speaking about ethnic division and still speaking about state creations, now we have the three major states out there, the Wazobia, so that's Yoruba, Hausa, and Igbo. And of course, we have the minorities out there, which is basically almost every other tribe that exists in this country, the 600 and something languages that are being spoken here. Yes, but how would you say the government so far has fared when it comes to handling or, you know, creating that level of fairness when it comes to these minorities now and ensuring their financial stability within those states?
Thank you very much, Jamal. I know you are a minority, so you can you can as well.
I am.
You can as well make that claim. But reality, I think we are also losing sight of one critical factor that has been a centrifugal force in Nigeria, and that's the elders-farmers clashes. Yes. If there is anything in the last 4 or 5 years that have pushed Nigeria apart from appointments that you alluded to, is the handling of the elders-farmers clashes. Because there, the North Central, the minorities in the North are even worse hit. Am I making sense? Plateau, Benue, yes, Nasarawa, Kaduna, Southern Kaduna are at the receiving end. The whole Sokapu agitation, Southern Kaduna People's Union, or what, Sokapu, is about elders invading their farms, taking them hostage, annexing their land. There is an economic cost to that. There is a social cost to that. Now, the Igbos are the best business partners of the northern people. It is said that any community you get to, and you don't see an Igbo man there, don't stay. It's not fit for woman habitation. But today, Igbos are now migrating to their own state, because even to access land in other places now is an issue. If you want to buy land in some places, if you are not from that ethnic group, they will not sell land to you, even if you have your money. So, the handling of the elders-farmers clashes, the so-called retracing the grazing route of 1960s in 2021, is creating a lot of agitations. The old Sunday Igboho episode in the Southwest was about elders-farmers clashes in Igangan, which is a town in Oyo State. So when you look at all this agitation, even among the minorities, today, I'm not sure there's any day. In fact, I was listening to news yesterday. A community in Plateau State actually raised the palace of their traditional ruler because of the killing of 18 farmers that the community leader didn't do anything about. So the youth of that place took law into their hands and chased away the traditional ruler and raised his palace. Who are the people allegedly responsible? They will tell the elders. Some have even profiled every Fulani as elders and that they are perpetrators of this. So what I was talking about, the social cost, is now even more than the economic cost. Although the two goes together. Because people are leaving their ancestral land, running to IDPs. They are losing their jobs. I don't know if you get my drift. You cannot be your source of income. You cannot be in IDP camp and be farming or trading or earning income. You are a beggar. When you are in IDP camp, you are at the receiving end. You that is a breadwinner become somebody who will wait on government to come or government official to come and give you food, to give you clothes, to give you beddings. These are things you ordinarily will provide for yourself. So the mishandling of these elders farmers clashes, the minority agitations, which has been age-long, because we paper so many things under the Wazobia, Hausa, Igbo, Yoruba. There is also the marginalization within even the marginalized communities. For instance, in Kogi State here, if you are not from Kogi East, which is the Gala ethnic group, your chances of becoming the governor of Kogi State is very slim. The emergence of Yahaya Bello was accidental. You know, it was Prince Abubakar Audu that was coasting home to victory before death snatching, and the party just decided that who is the first runner-up, and they picked Yahaya Bello, who is from the Kogi Central, who is an Ebirama. The same in Benue State. Benue is a minority, but if you are not from thief, if you are not a thief, your chance of becoming the governor of Benue State is slim. Go through the history. Idoma can be anything. David Mark is an Idoma man. So many other military generals. But to access that #1 seat in Benue State is a challenge. The same thing even in Oyo State. In Oyo State, the people of Ogun, we call them Oke-Ogun. Oke-Ogun is Upper Ogun. They are part of Oyo State, but they have never produced governor of Oyo State. In Ogun State, if you are from Yewa, which is the Kogi West, Ogun West. Ogun West is Yewa, Awori. So people from Ota, people from Egba, they call them Egbado, and some towns there where you have a Wekoro cement factory, where Dangote is exploring. Those areas have never produced governor. It has been between the Egba people and the Jebus.
So the minorities inside the minorities
are even afflicted.
Okay.
So meanwhile, the Constitution in Section 4 of the Constitution highlighted that there must be federal character principle. And why was that inputted into the Constitution? For purposes of national cohesion and national loyalty.
All right, so we don't have a lot of time left, and I do want to talk about the implementation of policies after the Civil War. Now, there were a few policies that were actually implemented, and some of them were the 3 R's. That's rehabilitation, reconstruction, and reintegration. There was also the policy that was formulated by the then Finance Minister, Chief Awolowo, and that was to give the victims of the Biafran Civil War £20. Now, what are your thoughts on these, the policy implementation and how they were carried out by the government? Please, Mr. Steve.
Thank you so much. I think looking at it from the point of the cost, it's still the aspect of the cost implication of prosecuting a war. Just like Mr. Jide likes to take us through the history class, going through the minorities of the minorities, the marginalization and all that. Now, let's take it down to those who are actually facing this very issues that has to do with the effects of the war being prosecuted within their area. Just like the minorities he mentioned, from the North Central to the Northeast to the Northwest, all those areas that you have been seeing the killings, and people are leaving their ancestral homes, leaving their farmlands, and living at the penury of NGOs or the government that will come to the IDP camps and give them some tokens or give them some food items to survive. Now, look at it also from this point of this multidimensional consequences of the war, which has to do with they've lost education, because they cannot have schools to be, for their children to be educated. They have also lost from the point of the health care, because most of the hospitals or health facilities are not available in those IDP camps. They also have lost the economic aspect of it, because when they cultivate, when they farm their land, they can able to have revenues, or when they involve in the trades, they are involved in those communities, they can able to have a return on it. And so most of them, their disposable income is zero. Most of them, you can go to them, you meet them, they don't even have up to 10,000, all what in their life. So this is the cost effect of the war. Then coming from also the cost effect of what Nigerians have expanded in these areas, also from the casualties that we've witnessed. The reports are out there that over 350,000 have died. Nigerians have died as a result of war of this Boko Haram from 2009 till date. And about 15,000 of them died in the front line of the war, which is from the casualty from the Boko Haram members and the casualty also from the Nigerian army. Nigerians have lost a lot. So we should focus more on prosecuting this war. If it takes the government of Nigeria, just like the statistics are there, that they have invested a lot in this war. In fact, in this current 2022 budget, about 15.4% was allocated to prosecute war, for security and defense and all that. So Nigerians should be asking the leadership of the army or leadership of the armed forces, what have you been doing with these volumes of trillions that have been expanded of allocated to you to prosecute this war? We need to end this war. Just like you're talking about reconciliation, rehabilitation, these areas in the northeast should be rehabilitated. Yes, thanks to Mr. President for setting up the Northeast Development Commission to actually start this process. Yeah. I think it was quite too early to start such kind of organization or start kind of commission, in the sense that the war is still going on. What are you rehabilitating? What are you rebuilding?
When the numbers will still keep increasing.
The numbers, the casualty, if you build the schools today, the Boko Haram will come and bomb it tomorrow. You have to first finish with the war, prosecute this war with the funds you have, and make sure that we end this war, because this war have lingered more than enough. So this is the area I'm looking at from the economic aspect of it that have affected this nation, because this 6.9 trillion naira, like I said, in 2020 and 2021 and 2022, put together the 3 budget allocation to the defense for the security is about 6.9 trillion naira. The statistics are there. Go to Ministry of Finance, go to Accountant General, and most of these funds are 100% released. They are 100% released to them. So
what happens?
6.9 trillion, if you take this 6.9 trillion to do other developmental effects or other developmental projects in Nigeria, 1 trillion naira to Lagos Ibadan Road will give you an evidence. You will find 1 trillion naira to Port Harcourt Port Harcourt Enugu Expressway will give you a result. 1 trillion naira to Kanu Kaduna. These are the realities. We don't continue in this war projecting these trillions and trillions of naira, and we are not still feeling safer.
All right, unfortunately, we do not have enough time to continue on with this discussion, but I would like to thank my guests in the studio. Thank you so much, Mr. Ojide Ojo, for taking us through that wonderful history lesson and getting us to understand.
There is still the NYSC scheme, which was as a result of this civil war.
Actually, yes. Unfortunately, we don't have enough time to actually touch on that. But thank you so much for the history lesson, Mr. Ojide Ojo, and thank you so much, Mr. Stephen Nwachukwu, for showing us the economic aspect of, the Civil War and after, and what we're actually still dealing with. All right, so before we go, once again, I would like to say thank you to all our brave men and women on the forefront fighting for us. Not every single hero wears a cape. Some of them are standing by the road, under the rain, underneath the sun, the biting hot sun. We know how our Nigerian sun is. Yes, it's very, very hot. Yes, and they're standing out there. They're protecting us. Many of them have laid their lives just to make sure that we stay alive. So once again, a very big thank you. And to everyone there watching, thank you so much. And make sure that you tell a soldier, thank you. Anyone, Navy, Army, military, whatever it is, tell them thank you for their immeasurable sacrifices. Well, we have come to the end of our show. My name is Chamun Dabeng, and thank you for watching.